Welcome everyone to an episode of the Ol'Timers comic book show. I'm your host, Johnny the Machine Hughes, and joining me as always is someone who hates football almost as I do, I think, about now.
This year I do. What's up, Johnny?
The Professor. How's it going?
Hey, I'm doing okay. I'm kind of licking my wounds for the last Patriots terrible
Well,
loss.
yeah, they came all the way over to London to get their ass kicking by the Jags. The Jags.
And it started off so well too, and
Yeah.
then
I
deteriorated very rapidly from there.
I love the touchdown play that you guys had in, like, I think it was the first quarter, second quarter, and number 44, 41 for the Jags. He was just spinning his wheels, running around in circles. It was like a Madden's glitch. He just couldn't make a tackle, bless his cotton socks.
It's
But then, what do I know
crazy.
about making tackles, right? I mean, I'm the Miami Dolphins. I've got a quarterback in Huntley that won't throw the ball.
Hey, well,
I don't know.
can't wait for them to play each other again this year. That's going to be great.
The annoying stat for, I think, every football fan or any Dolphins fan who follows this is into the fourth quarter, Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle had not had a single target. Hadn't even tried, and then they threw the ball to Odell Beckham 3 times and didn't make a catch. I tell you what, you can pay me $3 million. I won't catch a football for the Dolphins.
Hey, easy.
Cool. All right, enough horror stories of football. Before we get into our books, I will say we are recording this earlier in the week, and as the witching hour has approached, it is now officially at time of recording. It's my birthday.
Get out of here.
No, it is. It's my birthday, man. It's like
Oh.
I am officially an older timer than I was when I started.
That's wow. Well, happy birthday. Mine's
you.
actually next episode will be my birthday. So
Cool.
happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to me. So,
Indeed. We will celebrate. We shall have cake. So we were talking about the horrors of football, and that brings up our show. The quirky schedule that we have going on means that we don't have of the week Halloween special. So we're doing it early. And if everyone who complains about you can't do Halloween early, listen, I've been to my local supermarket and they've got Christmas stuff in there already. We haven't even had Halloween yet. What's that all about?
I always like the the day after the holiday because then you can get all your candy at a discount, whatever's left. So
Our place, I don't know what it's like where you are, but our local supermarkets, after Christmas Day happens and we open up on Boxing Day, they've got Easter eggs on stock.
of course, yeah, Easter starts. Right after the birth of Christ, they need to get ready for his death.
And his rebirth again. So we're talking horror books. Now, when we think about, we're not talking about horrible books that have scared us, because that's a different category, right?
Yeah. Yes, for sure. We've reviewed quite a few of the really bad ones. So hey.
I'm thinking Champions again. No, I'm not. I love Champions. I was at my local comic book shop in the Dal night in Darlington, and he said, "Oh, Johnny, I almost won a lot, which included the whole Champions run. I was bidding on it for you, and I didn't get it." And he's like, "Oh, I was so happy that because I wanted to get it for you." And I'm like thinking, one, that's really nice that you're bidding on stuff for me. I appreciate that. 2, who else is buying Champions stuff?
But yeah, you kind of, especially over in England, you'd think you're the one, right?
You'd think, right? You'd
Yeah.
think. Somebody must have a beast Black Widow fetish going on. I don't know.
Someone's undercutting you.
How dare they? So yeah, books, horror books that are based in horror. That's what we're looking at. Certain characters, as always, we'll do a quick round robin. Certain characters tend to fall within this remit quite readily. We've talked about Vampirella before. Batman fits in massively.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to do a Batman book and do a topic like horror and not think of a Bat book. Cool. Who else almost made the grade?
So when I was thinking about the books for this week, I thought of the 70s Marvel, and when they relaxed the comics code and
Cool.
been able to put vampires and werewolves in their comics. And then you can think of Tomb of Dracula or Werewolf by Night, or even led to some other characters that got introduced, like Ghost Rider or Man Thing, or
why didn't we think of Ghost Rider?
Yeah. See, yeah, I know. I didn't pick anything from Marvel, but I was just looking at my toy display case, and I got the new wave of Marvel Legends that just came out. It was a Strange Tales wave, and it had Brother Voodoo, and it had Son of Satan, and it had a whole bunch of Halloween type characters, and I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. We can talk about that.
Yeah, why did not pick any of those? Those books sound way cooler than some of the ones we picked. That's us. We picked the horrible horror books. What was I going to say? I think one of the books I think always kind of throws me for a loop, and I think I've talked about it before. Got the Gothic storyline from Batman: The Dark Legends of the Dark Knight, the Grant Morrison story that always freaks me out. And of course, I think you can't go. If you're looking for shocks, you can't go worse than Arkham Asylum.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't even think of that until I looked at something else for the show today. I was like, oh, but then it's too easy. Too easy to go Batman, I think.
Yeah, well, we did anyway, but
did we?
Well, we didn't. But there's other things too, and when I was also thinking about horror books, thinking about even like kind of outside our timeline, there's been some really great horror stuff recently that I thought I mean, Walking Dead. Come on, I mean,
I looked at The Walking Dead, and that's for the timeline.
And it's like, yeah, do we look at it? Wait, how close are we to talking about Walking Dead? We're not too close, but it's a few years away. But there was Image just had a Jeff Lemire. Pretty basically anything Jeff Lemire writes can really kind of curve into that horror vein. He really did that horror when he had his Swamp Thing run, right?
Cool.
And the Gideon's Falls that he's got coming out over an Image with Andrea Sorrentino. And I'm sorry we're talking about it because it is totally out of our timeline. But I love that book, and I love Sorrentino, and I can't wait 20 years from now when we can talk about Sorrentino.
Current horror books that really float my boat. Again, Image have been all over this topic. There's a cutie dog book called Stray Dogs, and it looks cutie, but it really isn't. There's some horror stuff going on in that. And then there was like a possessions type story called The Me You Love in the Dark, which was written by Scotty Young, who we know more for his art than his writing.
Right.
But honestly, it was brilliant. It was absolutely brilliant. And I'm not a huge horror fan normally, but if modern day horror is your thing, then I don't think you can go wrong with people like Colin Bunn. I think he's absolutely transitioned from being like a superhero tie-in guy, and actually he's dropping good horror stories left, right, and center. I think he's probably up there. Lemire, as you said, is up there. No, there's a few out there if you go looking for them, but I think it helps with the relaxation of the code. In fact, nobody uses the code anymore.
That's that actually is worth kind of talking about a little bit, because the horror comics really are the reason that the comics code existed, right?
Which isn't some EC comics. That's what.
Yeah. I know. And then, I mean, back in the 50s when censorship was the rage, and, and I can't remember the name, Gaines, I think Gaines was the guy that testified in front of the Senate committee and just made an ass of himself, which basically caused the code to come into existence, defending the real kind of salacious stuff that was being published by EC Comics, etc. So, at that point in time when they, censorship came out, basically took over. I told you they didn't relax until the 70s, when until then Marvel couldn't, you couldn't put werewolves or vampires.
Yeah.
They had the whole, bad guys had to lose by the end of the issue, which,
Yeah.
but the kind of the good thing about the code really is it kind of led to the rise of all the colorful bat villains that you see,
To some
right?
extent, yeah. To some
So
extent. I think whilst we can, I think I've had this conversation recently with someone. Whilst you can have a shout at the court for being in a place and saying it's censorship, it's stopping this, it's stopping that. It also meant that people had to be more creative in telling the stories. When we talk
yeah,
about like the cause affecting comic books, it took a while, but Batman went from being the campy space hero all the way back to Denny O'Neil and Neil Adams. That was in Claude, and you
yep,
think, wow, how cool is that? Obviously, the code applies for so many books, but the Green Arrow, Roy
yeah.
drug issue, the Peter Parker Harry drug issue, which wasn't code affiliated at the time, it was a bit of a stink at the time.
They took the code off for that issue. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think horror has kind of evolved with the expansion of the code. And I think one of the proponents of that we're going to talk about in our middle book is a huge proponent of horror back in the day. But no, I think it was really hard when you think about it, because we've done Tomb of Dracula in our black and white special. We've done Vampirella, we did her ages ago. So you think, oh, where can we go? Where can we go? And as people will know, we're the dynamic duo today, and this one is the 13th choice. So 13 is not with us today. He's got some stuff going on, so our heartfelt love for 13, it goes out, and I hope he's taking care of himself and others, and that's as far as I'm going to say on that one. Right, here we go. So it is this beauty. It's an Elseworld book. It's Batman and Dracula, Red Rain, written by Doug Moench with art by Kelly, who owes his career to Bernie Wrightson Jones. Inks are by Malcolm Jones III. Les Dorshid is on colours, and letters are by Todd Klein. This is from May 1992 on eBay. You can get this for around £18 to £35. There are different variants of this around. There's a hardback and there's a softback, so prices vary depending on where you are on that. From Go Collect, a grade 9 will only cost you $12. So watch out for the expensive books. You want the hardcover and you want the first print. Those are the ones that you are looking for. Cool. Right. What did we think of this book?
I think the recurring theme I think we're going to have with all three of the books that we reviewed today is, what effect does the art have on the overall mood of the book?
Perfect. What? And especially, oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's an absolute peach of a comment. That's the end of the show, guys. See you later. No,
It's and all three of the artistic styles we're going to look at today, both very different from each other.
Indeed.
And the themes are slight, the themes are all different too. So this one, Red Rain, obviously, for those that haven't read the book, it's an Elseworlds Batman story where he uncovers a vampire coven that Dracula comes over, and it's the Dracula, and it ends up being Dracula versus Batman, right? And that they even said in the guide in the forward was basically like he lost a bet to have to write the book, right, or something like that. Like they threw a dart. They say they threw a dart, and he got to write Batman versus Dracula, because at this point in time, back in the early '90s, that they were shilling out Batman to any crossover company that they could, right? Didn't they have Batman and Spawn and Batman and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and
Batman Judge Death?
Yeah, Batman and
Just reading.
Grendel,
Yeah.
you know, you name it, they were crossing over. And this is, you know, this is actually Batman crossing over with a literary figure, but to me, the story is perfectly matched with the Kelly Jones art. Um, Kelly Jones, among basically, I was only familiar with the cover work,
All
right?
right. Okay.
You know, you get for the, especially the early '90s, the covers of Batman or Detective Comics, Kelly Jones on them with the
Yep.
ears that were 2 feet tall. You know,
He became the regular pencil on Batman, you know, after the
yeah,
after the
but
nighttime stuff.
I know, but I remember him from the covers. The covers he's done are just memorable.
Yeah, there's a
So,
couple of gorgeous Catwoman ones.
yeah.
But,
So I don't know if so. You know, I wasn't really thinking when we were talking about doing horror books. I was saying, you know, anything kind of like scary or stuff like that. I never really thought of Dracula as kind of like a scary kind of character. It was almost like a romantic villain, kind of. So
there is something passively romantic about Dracula, and also massively erotic. The way the neck's always barred and stuff like that. You know, funny enough, Dracula the book, Bram Stoker's Dracula, was written partly written in a little northeast coastal town called Whitby, which is about 20 miles down the road from me. We go there
really
frequently. Absolutely, you can stand at the top of the cliffs, watch the ships coming in the harbour, just like it's described in the book. You know, Dracula in Whitby. Check it out. There you go.
interesting. Do you ever walk through the graveyard there?
We've been a fair few times, and yeah, because you gotta look for the. Apparently, there's a grave with Dracula's name on it, but I haven't found it yet.
Oh,
But they do
interesting.
like a Dracula experience, like a waxworks thing, and that's always good. That's always good fun. And then later on at night, if you stick around, they do like a ghost walk, and they'll talk like go around the haunted areas of the town. And of course, you end up talking about Dracula for God knows how long. But
Of course.
if you like the Dracula thing, in fact, we're a little bit off topic. I apologize. They have 2 goth weekends a year, and you'll see people all rocked up in all the vampire regalia and stuff. It's absolutely spot on. So there you go.
Well, no, that's cool. I mean, if I when I decide to come over for a vacation in jolly old England, I'll have to hit that destination. But
Cool. Sorry.
I enjoyed this book. I thought it was maybe a little bit too long.
Yeah, that's a
But
shame.
I liked the whole idea of Batman versus Dracula hitting it. You know, they did kind of do the reverse kind of erotic romantic type stuff because they had the female vampire
Yeah,
was the one that was biting Bruce, and
yeah.
you know, and then of course Dracula kind of relegated basically to bad guy of the week kind of.
Well, yeah, a little bit, a little bit.
There was one thing I didn't really like about the book, and I kind of think it was like I think maybe 3/4 of the way through the book
Go on.
when he got the wings,
Oh,
and then
really?
yeah,
Okay.
and then he was all like flapping around and like I don't need the Batmobile and started like just flying. I kind of thought that kind of took me out of the story a little bit. I kind of
Yeah,
felt you know I kind of felt the fangs were the thing, and
yeah,
anything further than that, I was kind of like, yeah, you know.
yeah.
But
I'm
yeah,
with you. I'm with you on that one. Actually, I kind of agree. Um, the art. You're not going to look at the art and think, "Wow, perspectives are spot on here," because it's not. It is like contortioned to the high heavens. Um,
yeah, I kind of think it was supposed to be though. I mean, it's
and I don't
supposed to
mind
look
that.
weird. Yeah,
I like that. I like that a lot. A couple of things that threw me off the book a little bit was the female vampire that helps Bruce for no reason. Towards the end of the book, she starts walking around in a leotard and thigh highs. I'm like, what? Where did that come from? There's like no sort of like explanation. It's just boom, there you are. You know, and I'm like,
yeah,
well, hold on a second, what's going on here? Don't get me wrong. I appreciate a book that opens up with thigh high stockings as much as the next person. Where they at? There they are. Panel 2. I'm a red-blooded Red Rain person, just the same as anybody else. But I loved the book. How Munch actually Munch? How do you pronounce it?
Munch.
Munch.
Yeah.
I like how he kind of subverts readers' expectations, because you think it's just going to be a straight up Dracula book, but it takes a while for Dracula to rock up, to be honest. And there's lots of other stuff going on in between that kind of drags the book out a little bit. I agree with you. I think the book's a little bit too long. It gets a little bit too. I could do without the Alfred bits, to be honest, and yeah, just get to the point a little bit. I don't know if that's, because we read modern comics. I don't know, but I think
I didn't think it was too wordy. No, I just thought it was like a bit too long to get to the point. Yeah,
that's a good shout. I like Kelly Jones' art. I like the idiosyncrasy of it all. I think it's just a little bit random, and I don't mind things where they don't work so well. So if look at this page, just for an example, here at the top of the page, he looks quite broad. He's like, "Oh, look at me, I'm Batman." But like down on this bottom panel, he's now quite svelte. He's quite trim. So I don't mind the inconsistencies in this at all, and I love the great big long ears. It's just
nobody draws longer bat ears than Kelly Jones.
Yeah. The story, it works. I agree with you. You don't need the bat wings, for Christ's sakes, at all. And also, this book spawned a sequel.
Does it? I didn't even know that.
Yeah. There's a Red Rain 2.
Wait, and he's a vampire throughout? Does he have to fight Dracula again?
I can't remember who has to fight in the second one, but he has to. I think he fights himself because he's kind of driven mad by wanting blood.
Fighting the urge.
Yeah, exactly. I think he's at one point. I think he's being buried in a coffin to stop him wanting to go out and start killing people. And something happens in Gotham, and they end up having to dig him up to save the day. So,
if they showed that, maybe if they had the vampire Batman versus like a werewolf Joker, that would be pretty cool. But
yeah, I mean the whole idea of Batman taking on Dracula isn't a new thing. It's been done to death in regular DC books, and of course there's a straight to video The Batman cartoon where he takes on Dracula, and I think the Cobblepot, the Penguin, ends up being the dude, the Fairfax Abbey guy. So.
Isn't there a Scooby-Doo episode where the Batman and Robin guest star in a cartoon?
Yes.
They don't. I can't remember who the villain is in that one though. It's not a Bat villain, right?
No, it's one of those. Oh, damn it! I would have got away with it too. It wasn't you pesky kids. Type of things.
That's fun. Those were fun times.
Nice times. So. Time for an advert for one of our other shows. What have we got? I think, we haven't played this for a while, and I know it's still on the show, it's still on the network. So, Freya, I miss you. K-Pop Cosmos. They always run out of music at the end. I don't get the timing right, guys. Get the timing right. It might be one of those things.
Just backstage and all dancing.
Yeah, it's like one of those things where you watch one of those dubbed films when the words are moving. I think that's what's happening. It's all K-pop. Anyhow, check it out, K-pop Cosmos. It's there once a month to talk about everything that's K-pop with Freya and Marky Mark. All right, excellent. So when we talk about horror, there's got to be one word, especially from DC Comics, that I think pretty much epitomizes the idea of horror, and it is Vertigo. Before we get to the book, let's have a quick chat about Vertigo. It's in the news coming back, apparently.
Yeah, Vertigo's coming back. Yeah, that was just announced at New York Comic Con this weekend. How long's it been gone for? 10 years?
I don't think there's a place for Vertigo right now.
No?
I think there's I think the explosion of the independent market allows for the people who would work on stuff like Hellblazer, Sandman, Swamp Thing to go and do their own thing now. And I think audiences have moved away from that. And if you want that sort of book, you can get it in the market where you don't have to kowtow to an editorial team that says no matter what you do, John Constantine has to be smoking, or Swamp Thing has to talk about the green, or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah. The announcement from Vertigo was it was going to be a place for creator-owned projects to be backed by a brand, right? So Vertigo is still a brand, no matter how you look at it, and to have maybe the bankroll of a DC, and maybe you don't have to put something on a Kickstarter. And maybe have DC back you for something that they'll believe in. I always think of the projects like Preacher was, Preacher was never seen outside of Vertigo, and like the Invisibles or Metropolitan or something like that, where those projects that kind of existed in a vacuum, and you were able to read those. And the visions stayed the same. You can't tell me that there was a ton of editorial going through Preacher with a fine-tooth comb to make sure that stuff was up on the up and up. There was some nasty shit, excuse my French, in Preacher.
Sacre bleu, merde. Yeah. You're right. You're right. You are absolutely right, of course. But when people think about, and this is no disrespect to Preacher fans, because I know you're a massive Preacher fan. When people think about Vertigo, are they actually thinking about Preacher? Do they think about Hitman? Do they think about Sandman Mystery Theater?
I think about Why the Last Man. That's one of my favorites.
So
but another project that
But when we talk about Vertigo, people think Swamp Thing, Animal Man, Grant Morrison, Doom Patrol, Hellblazer,
Sandman. Yeah, and Hellblazer. Yeah.
Ironically, we are going to bring up a Hellblazer book. This is Hellblazer 27 from March 1990. I don't know. There's quite a difference on prices for this one. eBay, you can get it for around £9. A Gold Collector, grade 9 will cost you $38. I don't know what the discrepancy. I think what it is, it's a low print run book. So what you'll find is that there's just not many of them out there in the wild. They're all being captured and sitting in collections. There are a couple of first appearances in here that, if you're a Hellblazer fan, might have some semblance of what the hell's going on. Otherwise, it's kind of just up to just first appearances. It's written by Neil Gaiman, art by Dave McKean, which is what brought me thinking about Arkham Asylum. Colours are by Dave McKean and Danny Vozzo, and Todd Klein, second shout out for Todd, is on letters. So before we get into this, yes, I know there's been some shade thrown Gaiman's way in press recently. We're not here to talk about that. We're talking about the comic book, and that's where we're going to keep our focus. Is that fair enough?
Some people might be canceled. The books might be canceled, but the love of the books still goes on.
Oh yeah, and plus this book's from the 90s. You know what I'm saying? It's like, and I'm all for if people have done something. Oh, you've got me preaching now. So I'm all for if you've done something dodgy or bad that you get that you pay the price. Absolutely, but you can't go back and then say, oh well, book from that time or the book from that or the book from there. You know, these things exist in the, as we say, of their time. We're just going to go with that.
Well, I will argue that there are probably millions of people out there that can't stand Michael Jackson, but I bet you still love his music.
That's a shout. Yeah.
So
That's a shout. And Michael Jackson was found innocent in a court of law. So
yeah,
you know.
well, but
I hear what you're saying. I definitely hear you saying. All right, okay. So I'm going to be a little bit honest with you on this one. I think this has popped up a couple of times back on the old TDC episodes. I've got to be honest. I'm not a huge Constantine fan.
no, me neither. But I thought that when we were talking about horror books, I kind of felt like Hellblazer deserved a shout.
Okay,
So
cool. Let's go. Let's highlight it then.
And the reason I picked this particular issue is it's the only Hellblazer issue that Neil Gaiman ever wrote.
Oh, there you go. Cool.
So I thought it was interesting. And, with reading this book, the story, while not all that scary, is actually kind of a bit disturbing if you actually read towards the end, right?
Yeah.
Because it's a bit preachy towards the end, but the last couple of pages when it's like, oh, the reasons the ghost was still there, and just wanted someone to hold on to. And to me, I thought that was really kind of a metaphor for life, and of course, it was interesting. Again, talking about the art styles that actually bring out the most in the story. Yep. I actually thought Dave McKean's art in this issue overshadowed Gaiman's writing, and it was just being able to look at the pictures panel by panel, even the quiet moments in the middle of the issue where where Constantine goes to that party and sits with a friend. So even those were they were interesting to look at. The Dave McKean's art, and even that page, if you want to go back to that one, is that looks like Bill Sienkiewicz on most of the art. That light pencil sketchy artwork.
The crosshatch thing going on as well.
Yeah, and it really lent to the style of the book, and they did a lot of things with even though the book's in color, it's very black and whitish.
Yeah,
it's like it just feels. Yeah, it feels like I'm reading the black and white book.
Feels like the ink has run out on the printer. God damn it.
The horror elements of the story really kind of come at the beginning, where you had three homeless people that break into an apartment because they're freezing, and they try to warm themselves up, end up freezing to death in the apartment, and that's kind of the theme for the whole rest of the issue, where one of the people that froze to death became a ghost and was going through the apartment building looking for someone to hold on to for the warmth. And if you were apparently scared to death of the ghost, he would kill you and steal your warmth. And then of course towards the end he runs into Constantine, who asks him his name, and then says he wants to hold someone to hold him, and he says, I'll hold you. And then that moment of caring causes the ghost to dissipate, and and
see, I read the end completely different.
Oh, well, please tell.
So I read that the ghost had hugged Constantine, and it was kind of at this point because he'd made a connection, the ghost now lives inside of Constantine. And at the end of the book, when Constantine hugs the woman, what he's actually doing is passing on the ghost to her. That's what I read.
Oh, that's more horrifying than I had originally thought. No, that's the from
I don't know which one. Get Neil Gaiman on the phone.
Somebody call him and ask him. And this page was the one that explained the book to me. I can't really read it from here, but it was like where he said all he wanted was someone to care, and no one cared. And the reason that he was able to get the ghost to to move on was that amount of caring that he showed. Just that one moment of saying, I'll hold you, I'll never leave you. And that's like he's like, that's the lie we all tell each other. We all tell each other when the lights go out, I'll hold you forever and never let you go.
And then your arm gets pins and needles, and someone starts snoring, and it goes downhill. Warp speed.
Yeah. No, this is the Ol'Timers show.
Yeah. What I'll say is I agree with you 100% on this one, Professor. I think the art is absolutely staggeringly gorgeous.
Yes.
I think it's emotive, it's evocative of horror. I actually thought the story, if it is just the story of helping the ghost pass on, then it's pretty tame for gaming. Which is probably why I read more into the end than there should be, because I was like, there's got to be a twist. Constantine, he's a bit of a, does douchey things for douchey reasons, and
would he give that girl a ghost because he's mad at her because she wanted to she wanted to be impregnated by him?
I don't know. It's crazy. As I say, I've read it wrong. I've read it wrong. But I think for me, I always think of Constantine as he does something for himself before he does something for anybody else, including Satana. And when we talk Vertigo books, I would love to see more Vertigo Satana than superhero Satana, because I think just the idea of she in superhero world, she's too powerful. She's too powerful to be on the sidelines as much as she is. So
right.
For me, but I mean, this book, when it comes to Vertigo books, including Sandman, there is a level, I think, of pretension that goes to these things. I know people who say, "Oh, you read comic books." I don't read comic books. I read graphic novels. I'm like, "Oh, yeah, I get what you read." And say, "Oh, yeah, I read Sandman." I'm like, they were all comic books before they were a graphic novel, right? And they're like, I just read. I'm like, okay, whatever. So I think there's a little bit of an artsy crowd to some of these books. I will say this: my brother loves Hellblazer, so there you go.
I think I never outgrew the superhero books.
No, me neither.
But there's a transition. I think like as you read superhero books for so long, and then I would say if you're a Vertigo reader, you kind of graduated from superhero books to these more adult themed type books with maybe a higher level of understanding, or mixed metaphors, or you're a better what do I really say, like a
more mature outlook.
A different level of reader.
Yeah. I get it, but then it goes back to what I said earlier. If you have an open world, you can do absolutely anything. Then you get people doing absolutely anything. If you have a world with constraints and kind of like these are your barriers, that just makes the writing that much cleverer, I guess. I suppose. Yeah. Maybe I'm being a little bit facetious, and I apologize if I am. But I remember back in the day, I used like Star Trek books, the novels.
Yeah.
Peter David, Howard Weinstein, people like this. And all my friends would be like, "Oh, I can't believe you're reading them. They're not proper books." I'm like, "Dude, they're like 300 pages to find." And like, "No, it's not proper books because nothing ever happens. The characters never die and all this sort of stuff." I'm like, "Well, that means the writer's doing something well to get you caring about characters that are in the book. And you want to see what happens to the characters in the book." It's like the same as watching Star Trek TV show. Kirk never buys it, does he? So, but you still watch it every day or every week or whatever. So, I don't know. I think sometimes if you have a world with wars, like Batman not killing, or
Right.
Peter Parker never being rich, I think it just means you've got to be creative. You've just got to work within that frame.
Yep.
Maybe I'm just pro superhero comics.
Hey, I still enjoy my superheroes, though, I would say, of this age, of this era.
Yeah. Let's not go down that route. Although I've been sorting out some books, and I think I've got modern day. I think I've got some like 8 issues of Avengers to go through.
Oh, jeez.
I keep putting them to one side. I'm like, yeah, I'll get to them. I'll get to them in a bit. Yeah. I've got like 6 issues of Spider-Woman to go through, and I'm like, it's got Spider-Boy on the cover. I'm like, I can't be asked. I can't be bothered to read this. It's got Spider-Boy.
I skip that one.
I skip them all. Skip them all. All right. Okay. So last choice of the books. For me, when we think about horror, there's a universe out there that is absolutely massive, and it's done wonders. When you think about Dark Horse Comics, have not recently, I suppose, the last few years, started losing all the tie-in stuff because the House of Mouse is about Star Wars, and as well as other things like Aliens and Predators and stuff.
Yeah.
Yet they've managed to hold on to one of their biggest selling books, their biggest universe, you could argue, spawned two movies, and it's a guy.
3.
3? Is it 3? Oh, there
4. No, 3. No, 4. 4.
4?
4 movies.
4?
Yeah.
There you
I think.
go. And we're talking about Hellboy. Now, I know I am the only person on the show that loves Mike Mignola. I understand that. And honestly, I'm not making people look at this because think, oh, good machine's on one. Mike Mignola, Hellboy, I would say helped save Dark Horse Comics.
I would agree with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
No, I mean, I would. The Dark Horse, and of course, Dark Horse was the place, and I think we've talked about this before. Dark Horse was the place for movie studios to come get their properties before they started going to Marvel and DC. Mm-hmm. I mean, Dark Horse had more properties turned into movies than anybody in the 90s.
Time Cop, The Mask.
Yeah. Just to name a couple.
Yeah. So we're looking at Hellboy Seeds of Destruction #1. We've got this as a trade, so we're going to be stopping halfway through the book. It's from Feb 94, eBay. The first issue of this mini-series goes for £58. Go collect it's $75. The Go collect a grade 9 price. What you got to remember when it comes to Hellboy, a couple of things actually. One, it's a Dark Horse book, so Dark Horse's publishing schedule isn't like an ongoing thing. You'll get a mini-series, then it'll stop. You'll get another mini-series, then it'll stop, and so on and so forth. And that way they kind of, I suppose, set themselves up for the trade paperback version. And also it means you can get out while the going's good and they don't overstay the welcome. So written and art by Mignola even. The script is by John Byrne and colours are by Mark Chiarello. There is no letter of credit, unfortunately. I will say this: Hellboy's first appearance is
Dark Horse Presents number something.
San Diego Comic Con Comics #2 from August '93. If you look him up, there are three different first appearances listed for him. Not Dark Horse Comics presents, unfortunately. The next one is Next Men 21.
That's where I have that issue actually.
So that's quite a big book, and obviously, hence why John Byrne's involved in this, I would imagine. More recently, Mignola has stopped drawing Hellboy for the most part, and its sequel books. So there's like a couple out there. You've got Abe Sapien, you've got BPRD, which again is spawned from the Mignola verse. So he normally writes the books now with somebody else on art. So this is quite a rarity to see him, I suppose, learn these traits from John Byrne. Who'd have thunk it? Oh, isn't that nice? So this is pretty much Black Page, a kind of history lesson of how Hellboy came along. So you basically get the story of where I get there. A nice little history lesson, some text, great artwork shown there. It's not Whitby Abbey for all you Dracula fans. It kind of sets the scene that the Nazis are out looking for stuff. They're using Stonehenge here. It looks like Stonehenge. And whilst they're doing their experiments, lo and behold, what should happen, what should come up, is a little boy from hell. Hellboy. There you go. That's as simple as that. Fast forward, and you realise he's been working in partnership with someone to take on a sort of mystical kind of shenanigans going on. Is it a horror book? It probably isn't a horror book, to be fair. It's probably more superhero with supernatural touches thrown in than I expected. And this is the first time I've read the book. I only picked Hellboy because I was like, I can't pick a bad book, although there are plenty of bad books out there. Because 13 beat me to the punch. And you'd go nuts if I picked another bad book. But I love Mike Mignola's art. I think it's bearing in mind he's trying to, I think, do periodic art. His art looks of that period. You know, I think it kind of works really well. You know, it uses Dave Short on colours? No, Matt Trello on colors. I think the colours work really well. Loads of shadows, evocative of kind of the horror tropes in there, the kind of like there's something hiding in the dark type of stuff that you'd expect to see. It's a lot wordier than I expected. John Byrne, that's all I'm saying.
What you gonna do? And it's the first issue, so they have to explain stuff. So
yeah, I get that. I know. But overall, I thought it was a good introduction to the character. Hellboy has gone from strength to strength. As I said, he's had more than shed loads of miniseries in his own right. He spawned 2 spin-offs. You know, and I think it absolutely works brilliantly. The redness of the character, the contrast of the colours. What's not to like? What's not to like? Other than, you know, slimy giant frogs.
So you know that I'm not a big fan of Mike Mignola's art.
I do know that, and I'm sorry that I picked it.
No, that's okay, because, you know, like I said, this is going to be the recurring theme throughout this episode is how the art enhances the story. In this particular case, his art is, you know, his art suits Hellboy. If he had created some other character, you know, like if this was like a Superman book or something, it just wouldn't be the same.
You shouldn't say that. You know he worked with John Byrne on Worlds of Krypton for DC, right?
Well, yeah, and that's probably where I saw it and hated it. But this book, this issue 1 that we read, is the first 20 minutes of the Hellboy movie. So if you saw Hellboy, you're not really missing this first issue. But this, I mean, with the exception of who's that? The Torch guy, Liberty something. The Torch of Liberty, is that his name?
I'll say yes, it is.
Well, we can call that. That's what his name is. He's not in the movie, But other than that, that's the only change that they made, right? If you were to watch
Torch of Liberty. You're right. It's the Torch of Liberty. Sorry.
if you were to watch the first half hour of Hellboy, it's this issue to a T. Even all the bad guys and the the ritual that they summon, the whatever it was they summoned, I can't even remember the name of it. But even the villains look like the villains in the movie. So I thought it was cool. I like and maybe a mention of, even though I don't like really Mike Mignola's artwork, it translated onto film very well, right? I say the same thing about Deadpool, like how much I hate Deadpool, but the movie was great, so there's something in there that like I'm missing, I guess. So it's just a me thing. It's not, you read Hellboy, I'm sure there's a ton of Hellboy fans, but I didn't really see too much of the horror type aspect of this, but and even though I don't see much of horror in this, I kind of get the more feeling of like a steampunk kind of thing going on. Even though I don't really see much steampunk in here either, but it's like I'm looking at it going, where's the steampunk? And I'm sure it's coming.
Yeah.
So
it's just, yeah, you're right. I think the art is evocative of that kind of steampunk movement, that kind of,
where's the gears and everything?
Alternative Victorian, I suppose.
Exactly. That's
so I enjoyed it for what it was. And yes, it probably isn't the most horrific of horror books that we've ever could have picked on that one. But I think, what, we don't talk about indie books so much, and I think Hellboy deserves his little shout out for what he's done.
Yeah, no, we do. I think, have we talked Hellboy before? We haven't. No. This is the first time we've ever talked Hellboy.
And last, probably. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
What was I going to say? I liked, and I should have maybe picked this first, actually. Mignola did a Topps comic adaptation of the Dracula movie, the Bram Stoker one, and that was gorgeous to look at if you like Mike Mignola's art. So there you go. Cool.
Okay. You know what? I have that book.
Oh, there you go. See, you're dissing it, and but you own it already. All right. Okay.
I collected most of the Topps line because that was back when X-Files they were making X-Files.
Yeah, you were.
So, and I know we've talked X-Files before. So
we have indeed. Excellent.
Yeah.
Right. Excellent. There you go. 3 up, 3 down. Books to give you a scare. Ooh. Prior to Halloween. What I'll say is, if you want trick or treating, be nice with the tricks, please. Don't eat too many treats. It'll rot your teeth. They'll fall out. And then the tooth fairy will make you rich. Or maybe not.
Maybe not.
Maybe not. Who knows these things? All that's left for me to do really is say thank you to the Professor. Thank you.
Thank you, Johnny. Fun as always.
We'd be pleased to be back in a couple of weeks when we'll go through some more books. I have a bit of a diabolical theme to think of, and I don't know if we're going to be able to get on track for it, but we're going to try. We'll try for it, I think. Other than that, keep watching UCPM for all the favourite shows. You saw the trailer for it earlier. K-pop, Cosmos, and of course you've got Crisis in the Toy World, Crisis in the Toyverse as well. There you go. Cool.
Yes.
So hopefully, another week, the maybe beat the Cards.
I don't know. Maybe the Patriots have a chance against the Jets this weekend. I don't know.
Yeah, they stunk against the Steelers, I'm not going to lie. All right, there you go. See you all in a fortnight. I've been your host, Johnny Machine Hughes. As always, adios.